we are going to have more cultural things for you. So please subscribe to our channel, like us, and click on the bell. And please send us your comments or something that you would like to see in this, your channel. Bye. Bye.
Welcome to Raíces and Wings.
Nosotros los inmigrantes.
Romy, welcome. We have a super guest today.
We have a wonderful special guest here.
Yes, he is Dr. Jace Price, and he is a doctor in the history faculty, and it's an honor to have him here.
Thank you. Mucho gusto.
Oh, you speak Spanish too.
We have here Doctor because he is going to talk about a great project that they are doing at Wichita State, combining the modern language department and the history department. What is this about?
The project is called Somos de Wichita. We are Wichitans, and it is a joint project with history and modern and classical languages to collect the photos and stories of the Latino community here in Wichita.
That is awesome. That means that Hispanic people has been in Wichita since ever, or?
Well, the Hispanic tradition in Wichita has started really in the 1870s when people were coming up from the cattle trails in Mexico, and we have references to people of Mexican and Latino background in Wichita in the 1870s. But the tradition for our community today really begins in the turn of the last century, about 100 years ago.
Wow, how many Latinos are we here in Wichita? Like,
in the early part of the 20th century, it'll go from just a few hundred to over 1,000 in a pretty short time. A lot of them coming initially with the railroads, wow. And then they're going to switch into the meatpacking industry, especially places like Cudahy and Dole.
Very good.
Why is this project so important here in Wichita?
I think the Hispanic community, the Latino community has been here for so long, but it's hidden in plain sight. And I think a lot of times people assume the story is a recent one, and so they look at more recent immigration and not realizing that there are families who've been here for several generations, and to realize what that story really looks like.
That's very interesting, and we are doing this in English because I understand that we have a lot of Hispanic people there that do not speak Spanish. Is that correct?
There are some different generational stories here. The first generation who came in the turn of the last century spoke Spanish. Their children may or may not, and their grandchildren may or may not. There was a strong push in the 1920s, 1930s, 1940s, 1950s, 1960s to learn English, to maintain some cultural traditions, but to learn English as the main language of the household. And in fact, one of the stories we want to look at in these collections is how do families negotiate that? What parts do they keep? What parts do they change? And I think one of the things that the city is needing to learn more is that these are different ways of adapting. The community who today celebrates quinceañeras and watches football on TV is a different approach than the families who tried to assimilate in the 1940s.
That's correct. That's correct, because it's so difficult, this negotiation. I think that it would be really difficult if the parents spoke Spanish and the children English, and then how do we keep the traditions, how do we communicate to make things go well in the well-being, for the well-being of the family.
And because there were different strategies, it's important to talk about them as immigrants from a range of backgrounds, whether it's Latin American, whether it's from Asia, from Africa. Lots of immigrants are facing these same stories, and so to realize that it's not just one set of families, but it's a larger conversation, and it's worth talking about that more.
So can you explain us, Professor, what would you like to do with that, with this project? What the people, the Hispanic people, can do in order to support this project?
I like to say that history isn't written by the winners, it's written by the survivors. What survives is what we remember. And so if you look at photos online, in collections, in libraries and so forth, the Hispanic, the Latino story is not well represented because a lot of the photos simply aren't there. And to make sure that those photos are there, are preserved, are scanned, and are kept, ensures that that story is kept told down the road.
That is incredible. The people, the Hispanic people who have been in Wichita for generations can send these pictures in what way, where, and is this just for that people who had been for the last century? And
the main goal for us is for us to meet up with the families. They can certainly send us photos through our Facebook page and so forth, but the rule of thumb for preservation is if you can email it, it's too small. And it's not, you don't have the resolution. Right. It's better for preservation to have a really solid scan with a very detailed resolution. And we can only do that if we arrange with folks to take their photos. We can scan them at a very high resolution. And then if they want to keep the photos, we give them back. If they want to donate them to the library, we can certainly help that.
They can donate it too.
Absolutely.
Okay, that is very good. So we are going to put here the web page.
Please.
Where you can send the digital thing, but it's much better to contact you or Dr. Navarro directly.
Absolutely.
And you can see the picture.
Yeah, the actual picture. Yeah. But you can also keep your physical picture. You
Absolutely.
are not staying with them. You're not keeping them unless they decide to donate.
Absolutely.
Okay.
We're really helping the community tell its story, and the photos need to stay with the community. And that's one of the things we want to encourage people to preserve their own photos, to ask for the photos. I think another thing we're trying to encourage people to do is think about, well, where are those photos? Right. This is the time to talk to your abuelo, abuela, tío, tía. Where are the photos?
So we are creating a very nice opportunity within the families to talk about their history.
Absolutely.
That is very nice. And then after you gather all these pictures, are they going to be shown? Where are they going to be shown?
They're going to be housed at special collections at Wichita State University, which is a branch of their library. We're going to have a pop-up exhibit, a small exhibit that will go from place to talk about the project, but the ultimate source of the photos will rest with special collections. There will be ultimately a digital archive that people can see online, or they can go in to the archives themselves and look at what other physical objects might have been donated.
Okay, so the community will be able to see themselves in those exhibits.
Absolutely.
I'm sending my picture.
Wonderful. That's what we want to see.
Because we don't have any restriction in what day, time, year we took that pictures.
No, and we would love to have a range of photos. There are some formal posed photos for groups that are wonderful. We really would love to see everyday life.
Everyday life.
A lot of times people say, well, this was just a picture at a party. But if it was a party in the 1950s, we see what their clothes were like, what their homes were like. And sometimes those were the only pictures of certain members of the family that are there. And so it's worth talking about everyday life as well.
Yeah.
What is the importance to do at this time this project?
This is a time when the United States, when Kansas, when Wichita is coming to terms with its own diversity and is becoming a more diverse place, and it's worth telling those stories now as part of the community. We even got into this a little bit about the name of the project, because I would ask people, well, what is the Spanish word for Wichitan? Is it Wichitano, Wichitense, and
Wichiteca.
And more people just said, somos de Wichita, we are Wichitans. And to say that you can be Wichitan and also Latino and also part of this larger story is worth telling now.
Yes.
So the name of the project is?
Somos de Wichita.
Somos de Wichita. So we still need to coin a word for Wichitans in Spanish.
Perhaps.
Maybe we need to tell Dr. Navarro about that.
That might be a larger project.
Dr. Price, we are going to send this and we will support this, but I want you to tell us, what is your specialty? Because for me, you are like a storyteller.
I do local and community history, and so my goal is to help communities tell their story. And I'm interested in those different narrations that are often hidden. It's easy to talk about the big founding families, and it's important for us to get into the details to see a richer narrative.
Yes, and I think this is a very different way to narrate the stories, the history, because it's digital,
Yes.
visually. So I think this project is amazing.
It is.
And well,
Please send us your picture or send them your pictures.
yes, we are going to have all the information here.
All the information is going to be there.
Wonderful.
They won't keep your pictures. Be in contact with them, share your stories. They will become history. So,
Yes. And thank you. And this is a great opportunity to feel that we belong to this beautiful community, Wichita.
somos Wichita.
Thank you.
Gracias.
Gracias, doctor.